Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. I'm your host today, Coach Brandy, and I'm here with Coach Gracie and Coach Caden. How are you both doing today?
Good.
Living the dream. Ready to go.
Caden is always living the dream. I love it, Caden. Caden, is this your first podcast today?
This is my first podcast today.
Awesome. So exciting to have your first podcast today, and Zach's not here hosting. So I will do my best for your first podcast. You're going to do great. How are you feeling about it?
Hey, feeling pretty confident.
Okay, good. So we are going to be talking about migraines today and whether or not there is a link between migraines and exercise. So we'll get into it in just a moment. But before we do have a quick shout out. We'd like to mention Client of the Week. So I'm going to turn it over to Caden to talk about this week's client.
So our client of the week this week is Scott Myers. I just want to give a thank you to him for always bringing a real positive attitude coming into the gym and always having a smile on his face real early in the morning. And he comes in and works hard every single day.
Scott is so funny too. Like, I've only trained him a couple of times, but he's just such a character. Like, he makes the training session fun, right?
He really does. Positive guy.
Yeah, he is. Shout out to Scott. Great job.
Good work, Scott.
That's right. All right. So let's dive into this topic. I would say most people probably have experienced a headache at some point in their lifetime, right? I know I have experienced headaches.
So.
Yeah,
yes.
You would think most people experience headaches. So we're going to dive into migraines and whether or not exercise can cause a migraine, can make migraines better and all of that. But I think it's important first to talk about kind of the difference between a headache or different types of headaches and a migraine, because there is a difference. We can all experience a headache, but migraines are typically a little bit more severe. So Gracie, do you want to kind of talk about difference between a headache, different types of headaches, and a migraine?
Yeah, so I think we've all experienced a headache. We can all kind of say, okay, I know what a headache is. My head kind of hurts. It's moderate. But I can live with it. I can move on, do my next task. And then after a headache, there's a tension headache, which is more of like a steady ache, kind of moderate pain. It's going to be distracting, kind of bother you, but it's not going to be debilitating in any way. And then we have a migraine. So a migraine is when you're sensitive to light, to sound. There's kind of like a throbbing pain in your head. And typically your pain is going to be on one side of your head. And it's kind of going to be like this moderate to severe pain where there's an aura before the onset. So there's something that triggers it. And for most people, once you have migraines, you kind of are going to get them the rest of your life. You know, whether that's, okay, I get 2 migraines every year or I get 4 migraines every year. Kind of, it's different for person to person, but there's always going to be that onset of something triggered it for me. In addition, migraines are also genetic. So, if your mom had migraines, you're most likely probably going to start experiencing migraines at some point in your life. The age, it totally ranges. Most people, it's kind of about their teenage years. But yeah, so migraines are genetic and they're much worse than headaches.
Mm-hmm.
So.
One of the things, just to add to that, I think that was a great description, but one thing that I learned too is that migraines are more prevalent in females than in males. So women are more likely to get migraines than males, and I think quite a bit more likely, although males can get migraines as well. And many different things can trigger migraines. So you mentioned, once you have migraines, it's kind of a chronic issue. You can get them multiple times throughout your lifetime, and different things can bring on a migraine headache. It can be stress, it can be light, it can be foods you eat, lack of sleep, tension, many different things. So in the research that you both have done, what are your thoughts around exercise, and can exercise induce or bring on a migraine?
So I think, like you said, there's a lot of things that can cause a migraine. I know, Caden, we were talking about this earlier. It was like dehydration, not eating enough, not sleeping enough. What were some of your other things that you would say caused the migraines?
Definitely if you're working out in a super hot environment, loud noises happening, and super bright lights are a couple of things that can activate the migraines.
I think one thing in addition to that too, hormones. So there can be hormone-induced migraines or hormone-induced headaches where if, especially in females, if there's a period of time where you're low in estrogen and progesterone, that can sometimes induce or bring on a migraine headache as well. So no strong evidence around exercise causing a migraine is what I'm hearing. Is that right?
So from the research that I did, like we were saying, when you're dehydrated or lack of sleep, that puts a lot of stress on your body. And so your body's already stressed out. It's already kind of offset. It's not really sure what's going on. And so then once you start to exercise, your body's going to kind of react to that and say, okay, I'm already under loads of stress from XYZ reason. And now that I'm exercising, it's having an effect on my body and my reaction is a migraine. So I wouldn't necessarily say that the migraine itself is going to be caused by initiating the exercise, but it's all of these combination of factors that happen leading up to exercise and you jump into it and you're going too strong, too fast. That's what's going to lead to a migraine if you suffer from migraines.
Okay. So it is possible to develop a migraine while you're exercising, but that may or may not be the cause of the migraine itself.
Correct.
So if someone is working out and they start to develop a migraine while they're working out, or that, they develop that headache and they're feeling like it's a migraine, they may or may not have aura associated with a migraine. Should they continue working out? What are your recommendations around that?
Once the migraine happens in the workout, shutting down the workout for the day is going to be your best course of action. Yeah.
So stopping the workout.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So once the migraine comes on, then exercise will most likely not improve the migraine. It's not going to get better if you continue to work out. Could the exercise make the migraine worse if you keep trying to work out while you have a migraine?
Yes, migraines can definitely make it worse. Like once the migraine sets in, if you're exercising at that time, like stop exercise, it's not going to get any better. It'll only make it worse. But there are ways to prevent the migraine from happening in the first place.
All right, let's talk about that. So this is before the migraine comes on. People want to prevent getting a migraine. So what are some of those different things that people can do to help relieve or reduce the number of migraines that they're getting?
I would say a couple of the biggest things to reduce the risk of getting a migraine during exercise is definitely going to be making sure you're properly warmed up. Even if you got to take a few extra minutes to get warm up, that's all right, because then you're going to be able to push through that full workout. Eating a high protein snack anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half before the workout, and making sure you have plenty of electrolytes in you.
Good. So those will help prevent migraine while you're working out, so that the onset does not occur while you're exercising. And then I know there are some other things that you can do, just general, healthy living, things such as making sure you get plenty of sleep, you're well hydrated, managing stress levels, like all of that can help reduce migraines. And then getting exercise, like regular exercise in your daily life, in your daily activities, can help prevent the onset of migraines and help with recurring migraines. Is there anything that you want to add, Gracie, in addition to what we've discussed in terms of helping to prevent the onset of a migraine?
Yeah, I would say a big one is being aware of your caffeine intake. Caffeine can definitely lead to headaches, to migraines, to stressing out the body. If you have a Bang energy drink, your heart rate's just through the roof and you probably don't feel so good. So making sure you're limiting your caffeine intake. I think what is the daily recommended allowance like 400 milligrams. I don't know. I feel like that's a lot in my opinion, but to each their own. Everyone has a different caffeine tolerance level. But just being aware of that, not, drinking 4 cups of coffee. So, whatever that is for you, just kind of being aware of that and making sure you're not overdoing on your caffeine.
I've heard caffeine. So caffeine, I've heard can trigger migraines, and if you do have a migraine, it can also help alleviate the symptoms of a migraine as well. So I think it's different for different people. So, just kind of knowing your body and understanding, how caffeine affects your body. And in some cases, I have like small doses. I've heard small doses of caffeine can help once you've already developed the onset of a migraine. I know limiting sugar intake is something else that you can do to help prevent a migraine as well. One thing that I found interesting when I was doing some research for this podcast was there's some evidence that omega-3 oils and eating diets rich in omega-3s like seafood can help prevent migraines. And then there's some evidence that shows taking creatine may help reduce the onset of migraines as well. So I think, I think there's not a direct correlation, but there's some evidence and some studies that are showing a positive benefit from taking creatine and its potential impact on migraine. So I thought that was fascinating too. I think creatine is a great supplement for, strength training and as well. So if you are taking creatine, maybe you're getting the benefit of migraine prevention as well. Anything else that you want to add in terms of prevention?
I would say just making sure you're exercising kind of consistently. That way you don't, miss 2 weeks and then you jump back into it and maybe it's, stressing out my body a little bit. So sticking with your routine, whatever that is for you, 3-4 days a week. The benefits of exercise are, endless, as we all know. So, finding your routine, sticking with it, finding your sweet spot for how your intensity level, how many times a week. I think that can definitely be a preventative.
Great. Kaden, anything else to add to that?
I would say, I guess one more thing I could add to it is make sure you're not in a huge calorie deficit coming into the workout prior to that. Make sure you're fueling your body right and getting after it.
Great. Awesome. All right. I think that's a great note to end on. If you are experiencing a migraine, try some of those techniques and then really focusing on prevention. So making sure that you are incorporating regular exercise, healthy diet, getting plenty of sleep, and are staying hydrated. All right. That's going to do it for us today. Have a great one, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. Do you have a question that you'd like for us to answer live on the podcast? If so, all you need to do is head over to the Apple Podcast app on your iPhone and do 3 simple things. First, leave us a rating and review telling me what you think of the podcast. In that review, ask anything you want related to health, fitness, or nutrition. And if you want a shout out, leave us your Instagram handle or name. That's all you have to do. Then listen to hear your questions answered live on the next Q&A episode.